In today's lesson, we'll explore some basic information about your iPad and learn more about airplane mode. So here we are on the settings screen, and we see General in the left column, and we'll begin with About at the top of the right column. So we're going to touch About one time, and we see this list of items, information about our iPad. And the first item that we see at the top of the screen is Name. This tells us the name of our iPad, but it's also the place where we can change the name of our iPad. So if you'd like to personalize your iPad, give it a more meaningful name, perhaps your own, this is a place where you can do it. And to do that, you just tap. You can see we get the keyboard, and at this point I could change the name of my iPad. Mine's already finished, so we'll move on. To move back into menus, to return to where we were, we simply need to look for buttons like this one at the top, and this button tells us that we'll be returning to About if we tap it. So let's tap that one time, and here we are back on the About screen. Let's take a look at a few other items on this screen. You can see we also find here information about how many songs and how many videos, how many photos, and how many applications are on our iPad. This item labeled Capacity tells us about the memory of our iPad. And in this case, it's listed as 29 gigabytes. Now this is a 32 gigabyte iPad. What happened to those other three? Well, the other 3 gigabytes are used for the iOS and for overhead that works with the system. So this number on the capacity will always be less than what your iPad is rated at. And the next line tells us how much of that space I have remaining. So of the 29 gigabytes that I have available, I have about 2.3 gigabytes remaining to fill with media of some kind. Movies, music, songs, apps, etc. You can tell from the next item my iPad version, and that's 5.0.1. And here is the serial number for your iPad. Why might you need to know the serial number? If you work in an organization, the folks there may be keeping track of the iPads by serial number. I'm working with a group of some 80 faculty at a local university, introducing them to the iPad. And when we distributed these iPads, we need to record their name, their email address, and the serial number of their iPad, so that we could keep an accurate record, and also so that we could give that information to the Information Technologies Department, or IT. In that situation I just mentioned with the local university, we also provided IT the Wi-Fi address. Why? So that these devices could easily connect to the university network. That is, this Wi-Fi address and the Wi-Fi addresses of the other iPads that we distributed were given to IT, and they were entered into a table. Those devices then became approved and recognized automatically by the network, so that any time one of these faculty members wanted to get onto the university network, they didn't have to log in with a username and password. The iPad was recognized automatically, making it easy for them to connect and get started with their work. Let's address one more item I'm frequently asked about. And that's the item that appears at the top of the list on the left, called Airplane Mode. You may have guessed that Airplane Mode is built into the iPad and other wireless devices for use aboard airplanes, so that you can comply with those requests to turn off all electronic devices. If during those times you have merely been putting your iPad to sleep, that is, using the sleep-wake switch, then you really haven't been complying with those airline regulations. Remember that the sleep-wake switch is really not an on-off switch, so that when you put your iPad to sleep, all of the radios that are built into your iPad are still operating. You have Bluetooth, which we'll talk about in another video, Wi-Fi for the wireless internet, and if you have a contract with one of the carriers such as Verizon or AT&T, you also have a 3G or 4G radio that's operating to allow you to connect to cell phone towers to use your iPad when you're out of the range of a Wi-Fi network. The 3G and 4G models also have GPS. Setting your iPad into airplane mode turns all those radio emissions off. Watch what happens to my Wi-Fi signal when I turn airplane mode on. Notice that my Wi-Fi signal has been automatically turned off. You'll also notice that an airplane icon has been added to your status bar in the upper left. This is to remind you that you have airplane mode set when you're not on this screen. Now, you may be asking, Haven't airlines been adding Wi-Fi to their aircraft? And the answer is yes. So that if you have airplane mode set to on, you won't have access to Wi-Fi. Well, you can have airplane mode on and still have access to the Wi-Fi signal aboard the plane. And you can do that just by turning Wi-Fi back on. When you do, you'll see that you have access to Wi-Fi networks, even though you're in airplane mode. You'll be able to tell that you're in airplane mode with Wi-Fi turned on by looking in the status bar in the upper left. Just remember to turn airplane mode off once you've reached the gate or after you've left the aircraft.